Hi, my name is Matuzo. I'm a front-end developer from Vienna and I'm redesigning and building my website from scratch. And I'm recording it. This is my second video. Thank you so much for the great feedback to my first video. And also thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I started with 5 subscribers and now I have 102, which is really amazing. In my first video, I talked about my plans for the next couple of weeks. So the technology I'm going to use and what I'm going to cover and what I want to implement. And one thing I didn't tell you about, and thank you Bernd for pointing this out, is the required skill level that you will need in order to be able to follow me. So let's talk about that for a second. If you are completely new to Eleventy, it's absolutely fine. I'm doing a lot of research right now. I'm looking at other websites and I'm trying to steal all the great ideas so they can find their way into my website. And I'm going to start from zero and explain everything that I'm doing. So if you're new to Eleventy, this is going to be great for you. If you're completely new to HTML and CSS, so if you don't know how to write HTML and CSS, I believe that it's going to be hard for you to follow me because I'm not going to talk about the language basics. I'm going to talk about some basics of HTML, of course, and CSS as well, but also about some advanced stuff, and I'm not going to explain the fundamentals. So you might want to learn HTML and CSS first and then come back because there is some stuff like performance and theming in CSS and also advanced layout that I'm not going to explain in detail. All the JavaScript stuff is probably going to be pretty basic because I already told you in the first video, I'm not a JavaScript pro. I know how to write JavaScript, but it's not going to be the most advanced JavaScript, or you don't need any framework knowledge, React, Vue, whatever, because I'm going to write vanilla JavaScript. And my JavaScript might get better because I just subscribed to Just JavaScript by Dan Abramov, a JavaScript course, a JavaScript course that helps you write vanilla JavaScript. It seems like he's planning to create the best vanilla JavaScript course there is, together with Maggie Appleton. I'm really looking forward to this. You might also want to subscribe. So, if you know basic HTML and basic CSS, I guess my videos are going to be interesting for you. Now, let's get started with the topic for today. I want to talk about design and finding inspiration. I'm a front-end developer. I get paid to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I don't do design, but I believe that I have to understand how design works and I should be able to do some basic design because my job is to translate Sketch, Photoshop, sometimes even InDesign to CSS and HTML. And in order to be able to translate, I need to understand both languages. So the languages of the web and also the language of design. And I wouldn't trust myself to build a design system or to design a large website with many different components and states and so on. But I trust myself to build my own website, and I also challenge myself to design my own website. And this is really important. I believe that your website is your personal space. This is where you get to express yourself. You can express yourself by the content, the images, the text that you put online. And you also get to express yourself and show who you are with your design. That's why I believe it's important that you design your website. But for some people, including me, it's hard to design. And the way I do it, and this kind of works for me, is that I have a starting point. And that starting point is usually something that inspires me. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I have this starting point and then I just design. I just start. And what I don't do is that I don't sit down for a day and try to come up with a design. I only take a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes or up to 1 hour maybe, because I work full time, I don't have the time, and I also and it's also for me easier to design and not get frustrated if I don't spend too much time on it. Because if I design something for 2 hours and I'm not able to come up with the result that I expect, I get frustrated. And if I only have a limited amount of time, this is not very likely to happen. So the way I do it is, in the morning, I have about 30 to 90 minutes before I have to get to work. I wake up very early, yes, and I work on a design, and I work on it for 30 minutes, and then I just let it be. And the next morning I look at it, and if I still like it, I keep on working. If I don't like it, I throw it away. And then in the next morning, I repeat this, and so on. So the tip I have for you, if design is hard for you, don't try to design everything in one go. Like, you can, I don't know, write the HTML and CSS and JavaScript for a component in a day, and then you're finished and it's fine. But I wouldn't recommend to take a whole day to work a design. Take your time. Spend multiple days looking at the design, iterating over it and tweaking it, and maybe just, throwing stuff away. If you don't like it anymore, it's fine. Just try something else, but just take your time. And while you're designing, also try to work on other stuff on your website, because there's so much you have to do. Don't let the design be a blocker. You don't need the design before you start working. So you can do all the server setup. You can, in my case, set up 11T. You can create all the content, write everything, work on the HTML, and the design could be the last thing that you have to do. So don't let the design be a blocker. I just mentioned that I usually have this one thing that I start with, like this foundation of my design, something that inspires me. And inspiration is an interesting topic, because there are different ways or different sources where you can get inspiration from. I'm going to start with the most obvious one, which is looking at other websites. This is something that I definitely cannot recommend. Don't look at other websites, because if you look at other websites, it might happen that they influence you in your decision making and design process so much that there isn't too much of your personality, of you in your design. And again, I believe this is important, because you express yourself with the design of your website. So looking at other websites too early in this process might influence you too much. And the chances are high that your website will look like every other website. There is this famous tweet by Jon Golds who wrote, "Which one of the two possible websites are you currently designing?" And you see this one design with the logo on the left side, a horizontal navigation on the right side, followed by a hero area with an image and some text, a call to action button, followed by several sections with 1 to 3 columns. This is how most websites look like. And if you look at too many websites of other people, it might happen that you just create another clone of all the other websites. So, if I don't recommend looking at other websites too early, what do I recommend? Well, you could start with pretty much anything. You can start with a font, for example. You just visit, Google Fonts and just browse through the fonts. Maybe don't take the first ones. Don't start with Open Sans or Roboto. Scroll through the page and see if there's a font that you like, and use this as a starting point. Or, of course, you can also visit, and I really hate, I don't know how to pronounce it. Font Squirrel. You can browse this website and see if there are free fonts that you can use that inspire you to create a design. They have a lot of interesting fonts on there. So a font could be something that inspires you, and also a color, for example. There's Adobe Color. There are other websites as well that have color swatches, and you just browse through the site and see if there is a combination of colors that you like, and use this as a starting point. Another source of inspiration is dribble.com, and I guess there are different ways of using dribble.com. On this page, I search for website, and you can see some designs, and the problem I have with Dribble is that some of the designs are just too beautiful, just too perfect. And if I look at this page, everything looks the same for me, because I don't know if I'm using Dribble wrong, but there's usually a trend, a certain type of design or usage of color or typography that everyone is doing at the moment, and this is why most designs look the same. At least they look the same to me. I don't know if this is how if this is a great source for finding inspiration, but what I like about Dribbble is you can search for logos or for whatever and just see if you can find colors that interest you. So it doesn't have to be a user interface design, it could be just a logo that you like, and if you click on it you can see the color swatch and you can copy the colors, and you can also click one of the colors and then you will see all kinds of designs and combinations with other colors in that specific color. So this is really cool. And another source of inspiration, and this is my favorite one, is the offline world. You can find inspiration anywhere in the offline world. For example, you can look at books or at magazines. This is an article that Dan Davis wrote, and it's called Print to CSS. And he says that he's a huge fan of magazine layouts and the use of typography and the structures and the general look. And he wanted to bring that look to the web. And for him, it was an interesting exercise because he got to practice grids and he also made some pretty cool designs. So he looked at several magazines and he created or recreated the layouts in CSS. You can see, for example, this is pretty interesting. He's using the heading of the article as a mask on an image, which looks nice, and it seems like you can do this with CSS. So pretty cool stuff that might inspire you. Another source of inspiration in the offline world is architecture. I'm a huge fan of architecture. My partner is an architect, and whenever we travel, she shows me all kinds of interesting buildings. What you see here are just some photos I took in Estonia, and they have so many awesome buildings there. And of course, I know this is a building. You can immediately, I don't know, transform this into a web layout like we just saw with the magazines. But I don't know, texture, color, combination of colors, and also sometimes shapes can be very inspiring. For example, look at that building. I mean, this looks so interesting, and all kinds of interesting shapes that you could, for example, recreate with CSS, or just use it as a foundation for building something or designing something. On my current website, you can see that the colors I'm using are this whitish beige color in the background, and a light blue and a dark blue color, and red. And I found those colors in Italy. I was in Italy on vacation, and we stayed at an Airbnb, and I was brushing my teeth, and usually I'm brushing my teeth everything but the bathroom. So I was walking around the Airbnb and I was brushing my teeth, and then I saw this poster, and you can actually see me brushing my teeth here if you look closely. And I saw it and I really like it. I like the shapes, but not too much, but I like the colors a lot. So I took a photo and I saved it to my phone. At some point, I used this as a basis for my design. If you look at the website again, you can see that the colors are not exactly the same, but they're pretty similar. For my new website, for my redesigned website, I already have a very rough idea for a design, and the inspiration this time was an LP. I bought this punk LP a few years ago, about 8 years ago. It's called Oi of Japan, which is a compilation of Japanese punk music. And a few weeks ago, I remembered that I have it, and I listened to it, and then I swear it was exactly like that. 2 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, my website should look like this cover. So I looked at it again and I thought, okay, how can I do it? How can I transform this into a design? So I opened CodePen and I started designing. And this is what I came up with. You can see that the title of the LP is my name, and the navigation on my website is where the bands are. And I don't have an illustration here, but I built the layout in a square shape, or a rectangle shape. And I did that and I liked it for some time, and I spent 30 to 60 minutes working on it, and then I worked one more day and then another day, and then I woke up and I looked at it and I thought, I don't know, it looks nice, but I'm not too convinced. I mean, I like that this free column layout here is kind of interesting, but I thought I should bring my colors back, the colors that I have on my website, because I like them a lot. So I changed the colors and I also changed the layout a bit, and I did some experimenting, and I liked that at first, but a few days later I didn't like it anymore. I didn't like it at all. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to delete everything, but in order to honor the original inspiration I had, this LP, I'm going to keep this square shape, and I'm going to use it as a background image on my website. And so I opened Illustrator, I created this background image, I saved it, and then I got this. And I thought, man, this looks really cool, because it looks like a college block where you can write on it and draw something and scribble. And it also kind of, it makes me want to draw more squares on this canvas. So that's what I did. I drew another square, so I got the original idea back, and then I added my logo and the navigation here on the top right. Again, you can see that I'm really trying to not to copy all the other websites. That's why I did some experimentation with the positioning, and then I also added some content. Now, what you can see here is not the final design. This is just a rough draft, a prototype. I'm designing in the browser, and I will be working in the browser, of course. So I don't need to design the whole thing. This design here is an ongoing process. So while I'm writing the CSS, the design will just happen. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. It will probably not look like this, but it will be something in that direction. Probably. It might also happen that at some point in video 10, I don't know, I decide that I don't like it anymore, and I'm going to design something else. We'll see. Okay, in the very beginning I told you that I don't recommend looking at other websites. Actually, I do recommend it, but it shouldn't be the first thing you do. At some point it makes sense to look at other websites, and that's also what I did. I visited, for example, this website by Lynn Fisher. Lynn Fisher is awesome. If you don't know her, follow her and check out her website. This is her site, and if you make the screen smaller, you can see that on a small screen you just see, I guess it's her, her head and her name at the top, and the larger the screen gets, the more heads you can see. So her head splits in the middle, and then you see a skull, and then all of a sudden a pizza, and more different faces, and in the end you see her again, I guess, again holding it all together. This is so cool. Unfortunately, I'm not Lynn Fisher. I'm not as talented and creative as her, and I can't draw. I can barely write. But I still love looking at websites like hers, because it inspires me to get started, to do something, to design something, to get creative, even though I can't do stuff that she can do. Another great example is, and I guess that most of you have already seen this website by Bruno Simon. I don't even know how you do it. Like, there's a car, you can use the arrow keys to drive around, and you can explore his world, his website, and this is just so cool. Like, again, I don't even know what this is. JavaScript and FreeJS. I don't know. It's just so cool. And again, I'm not as talented as he is to create something like that, but it inspires me. Another example is this website that I stumbled upon recently by, and I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly, Ilithia. And I spent so much time playing around with that thing. That's really cool. And I also like the colors a lot. Now, I wouldn't try to recreate this and put it on my website, because I don't know, it's not me. I like to play around with it. But it looks nice. And also, again, it's inspirational. And what I like is, I looked at the other sites, and there are all kinds of interesting things going on. What I like here is that you can see the content is right aligned. On the left side, you have this pattern, this dotted pattern. And on mobile or small screens, they're on the top. At some point, they disappear, and then they reappear again. This is a nice little touch. I like that a lot. And it seems like you have some theming going on, which is also quite nice. If you like websites like these where a lot of animation is going on, I recommend checking out awards.com. There are a lot of really cool sites on there. I looked at some other sites as well. I was on Jeremy Keefe's website, and I also found some things there. I saw that he has this theme picker where you can change the theme of the site. It reminds me a lot of CSS and Garden. That's really cool. Since I'm going to have some theming on my side as well, I might steal that. I like that a lot. So there's theming, which I'm going to steal from Jeremy. And I also like that on his homepage, you can see he doesn't have a list, just a list of the latest blog posts, but pretty much everything. There's a photo that he took. There's a article that he wrote, I guess. There's some teasers to article that he read and that he liked. And there's all kinds of content that he created or that he put online that's summarized on his homepage. So I'm going to do that as well, because on my current website you can only see the latest blog posts, but I'm going to pretty much everything that I put online, I'm going to put it on the homepage. I liked it. Yes, then I visited Mina Markham's website, and I believe I didn't even look at the other sites. I got stuck on the homepage because I love the photo that she put on there. I like it because it has a lot of character, and it's not a typical photo that you take in a professional photography that you take, where you sit like that and you have a photographer with a perfect camera that takes a photo of you. It's so dynamic, and I really like that. I might even put a photo of me on my website. I usually don't like taking photos of myself and putting selfies on Instagram or whatever. But I believe it makes sense to put a photo of yourself on your personal website if you want people to know who you are. I also visited Dave Rupert's site. I like that there's this illustration of him, I guess, but I also liked his about page where he made this horizontal scrolling column layout. I guess he got inspired by Trello with all the work he's done in the last 11-12 years. That's really cool. I might steal that idea as well for my Today I Learned page. I don't know, we'll see. And the last website that caught my attention recently is the website of my friend Max Böck. He recently published this blog roll. Usually a blog roll is just a list of names linked to blogs, but what he did here is that he added not just the name of the person he links to, but also an image and a short paragraph about that person. I like that. I'm going to steal that as well. So it makes sense to look at other websites, not just because of design reasons, but also because you might get some inspiration for how to present content and what kind of content and how to build the basic structure of your website, not just design stuff. All right, that's it for today. I hope that this helps you. I just hope that this helps you to get started with design or to finish a design. Actually, I just wanted to share my process, how I find inspiration, how I design stuff. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about designing in a browser. And this is going to be the first video where you will finally see some CSS. In the meantime, please give me feedback again. Share me links to your websites. I want to steal ideas from you. And also, please subscribe to the channel. Contact me on Twitter if you have questions, if you have feedback, and thanks so much for watching. See you next time.